Why should I use Photoshop? Well, when you get the raw images, especially if your friends have just been taking pictures of you, usually it costs money to have people take pictures of you and then Photoshop it. Why pay money when you could do it yourself? It's easy. It's just playing around with different lightings and stuff until you get it to where you like it. So it can make your photos look a lot better. You can take a crappy photo and just like totally turn it around and make it look professional. If you have blemishes, I tend to break out right before cons. It's this little magic curse I have. So, especially if you're taking a close-up of your face and there's just this giant zit right in the middle of your forehead and you're like, well, not any amount of makeup's not going to cover that one up. You can get rid of it in Photoshop, no worries. You can remove objects in scenery, especially if there's a sign behind you or something, and you just, or in one case, I left my badge out right next to me when I was taking a photo, and I had to go and get rid of my badge on the counter. And also you can change the lighting. If you don't like how the lighting is falling on your picture, you can go ahead and change it. So there's a lot of reasons why. Today I'm going to go over just how to get rid of blemishes, how to get rid of things in the scenery, how to change the lighting, and I'm also going to show you how to do basic just touch-ups. So let's get started. So I'm going to show you a before and after photo that I did today. The one is the raw image on the left, and to the right is the finished image that I finished in Photoshop. This took me about 15 minutes. It doesn't take a lot of time. You can choose to take a lot of time on it and really fine-tune it. But 15 minutes is about all I get from one photo before I get bored with it. So that's what I'm going to show you today. So let's go to Photoshop. Alright, so this is the image that we started with. First of all, I'm not a fan of the way it's turned up and right. It just doesn't look right to me. So we'll go to Image, and then we can adjust it by, and hold on a second because I suck at this. Image rotation, and then we can turn it 90 degrees clockwise or 90 degrees counterclockwise. We'll go counterclockwise, and Photoshop will tell you I'm working. Most of the stuff that I use is going to be under the image key, but I'm also going to go under the filters to do some lighting effects. So this is just to zoom in and out. Obviously the closer you zoom to your face, the more detail you're going to get. You're going to want to go to adjustments, and the first thing you want to do is adjust the brightness and the contrast of the photo, if it rolls up. Come on, Photoshop. Yeah, it has a bit of wait time.
Yeah.
Come on over. Anyway, the one thing that I suggest not to do is turn the saturation up really high, and I'll show you what that does to an image. It makes it look really, really like you got burned and crisped in the sun. It makes you look like a lobster. So obviously the brighter you go, and the one thing I like about Photoshop is it shows you the effects right away as you're doing them. Dark, obviously, that makes me look like a zombie laying in the sun, so we're going to keep it about the same, maybe go a little less. Contrast is always nice. It was here. It just makes it a little bit sharper. Don't go too much. It just gives it a weird color to it, but you can always adjust the color settings as well. So it's just finding what settings really work for you. Once you get it to where you like, you can just hit save and Photoshop will do it automatically. Yay, Photoshop. We go to curves. Who doesn't want curves? Once that is brought up, you'll see this thing. You want an S-curve in your photo, which means that you want to take this part and drag it down to a spot where you like, and then break this part and you drag it up. You can do it really dramatic, but keep it subtle. If you go really up, it makes it way too bright, and as if I brought this down, it just, no. So, the thing with your photos is keep it subtle. It's not going to hurt you to do tiny little changes. It definitely makes a difference just going bit by bit through your different image options and doing that. So your vibrance, this is saturation. Don't do this. No matter how tan you want to make yourself look, please don't do this. It just makes you look like a tangerine. It makes it look like you got one of those fake tans that people were really into in middle school. Don't do it. I like to desaturate a little bit if possible. And then vibrance just adds vibrance, you know, some pizzazz. Now those won't change. There we go. Boop. And then the one thing I really suggest playing around with is your hues or colors in a picture, because that can change the type of light or shadows or even the type of highlights that you're getting. You're going to go to color balance. Now see this cool thing. You can touch up your shadows, highlights, and your midtones, which is super, super helpful. So say I want to go for more of a blue look or a red look. I tend to like the cooler looks just because, I don't know, that's just me personally. If you want to go with warmer tones, that's up to you. It's also all about how you want your, how your skin tone fits in pictures and what the background is going to be like, because the light that's shining off there is definitely going to affect it. So you just play around with it a little bit, say I'm done with that, and I like where I'm at there. My next step, say I touched up my face, I'm done with all this stuff. The next thing I want to go to put in light is under filter. And then we're going to go to render, and you're going to go to lighting effects.
Lens flare.
What?
Put a lens flare in it.
Lens flare?
Lens flare.
Lens flare.
Needs more lens
For
flare.
your Star Trek cosplay.
So it may take it a bit to put
Needs
this
more
one up.
lens flare.
More lens flare.
J.J. Abrams. Lens flare.
What this photo needs more lens
And it's going to think for a little bit, so give it time. Photoshop is not the fastest program.
It's really heavy. That's the one thing.
Why it's good at white.
And it'll pull up a couple vectors for you, hopefully. Are there any questions up to this point? All right.
All that other stuff that you were doing was under image, right?
Yeah, under image, and then you go to adjustments. And you just kind of play around with it. If you want to get really specific effects that you've seen other artists do, you can go and look up their tutorials, and it's kind of helpful. But I just have fun playing around with it mostly. Yep.
Like, I've seen some things on, like, I think they were, like, for Avatar, like, they were, like, Zuko or Azula, where they actually have, like, fire that they photoshopped in.
That is something, yeah, that's something you can do with Photoshop.
No, I know that's hardcore photoshopping. I'm just wondering if that's done in this, or
Yes,
is that...
it's done in Photoshop. And that's people taking, actually just using their artistic abilities to draw the fire in there.
Ah!
Because there's no way you'd be able to take actual fire. I can see using like the cloning tool to kind of
So you could.
There are a few
tricks in there, but
there are effects that you can pull right from Photoshop to put in
There are
there.
fire effects on the normal.
Oh look, we're getting somewhere. Photoshop has specific effects you can download or add into the program, and it already has things in there. For example, lens flare. You can get a fire type thing effect in there, and then you'd be responsible for fine tuning it and making sure that it looks good.
Yeah,
You
like
could
it fits
also-
with the picture.
You could also use stock photos. It takes a bit of practice, but like
Like the transparent stock.
yeah, transparent stock photos. You can kind of adjust.
I'm gonna feel like mine.
Yeah, manipulate. There's also like the burn and dodge tool, which I don't actually recommend.
2 polygons.
Wait, if you want something chicken fast.
Okay, hopefully we're getting somewhere. There we go. Okay.
Lens flare.
So it's going to pull up what looks like a sunny side egg. This is where your lighting's going to be. You want kind of a natural lighting. Think of where the sun would shine down. In this case, I'm thinking right there. You can rotate this. You can scale it to be really tiny. You can scale it to be huge. You can just play with it. Whatever you want to do with it, really. Over here is where you can intensify the color. Obviously, you don't want it too bright or else it's going to wash out everything. Your hotspot is the one where your lots of light is going to go. So usually I like to keep it a medium. Don't go too small or else it's not noticeable, but don't go like huge or else it's not going to get the kind of effect you want. As for colorize, that's just making everything either really dark or really, really, really bright. Keep that low. Gloss is just gloss. You'll see the grass kind of getting lighter. I like to keep it to a minimum though. Don't mess with metallic too much. And the ambiance is, how much do you want to show? Nothing? There's my photo. It's going to slowly spread out from your hotspot. So say you only want this much available, that's all you'll get. But usually I like to keep the edges a little dark, but otherwise everything should be good. Hit OK to save it, and it's saved. And it looks 10 times better than the original, which is fun because, yay, you can now put it in your portfolio or cosplay page or wherever you keep your photos. Oh god, we're not going to even try and fix that photo. I tried to fix that one and it was just too grainy. Do you want to save this? No, I do not.
Oh, your hard work is gone.
I have another one, don't worry. Okay, we're going to use my face again, not that one. This one, to get rid of some acne. I'll show you it in case you can't see it. Right there.
Oh boy.
Oh man, what a
It's kind of creepy looking into my eyes. So I'm gonna
crater face.
So what we're going to do, and I started to avoid the clone stamp, and I've started to go more towards the patching tool. With that, you're going to go to the healing brush, you're going to click and you're going to hold it, and it'll come up with other options. Patch tool. This is really neat. What you do is you circle your acne, and then you grab it and you start pulling, and it'll grab other parts of the skin that match that part. Whenever you feel it's right, you just hold it, Control D, deselects it, and it's gone.
Whoa.
It's like
Or we
magic.
have this acne right here. Just select it, it's gone. A little bit left, but it's just the more you play around with it, the better it's gonna take. There we go.
Magic.
Yeah. So that's all there is to that. There's no more acne to take care of, except maybe you want to get rid of like a mole you have. But that's about it. The one thing I see a lot of cosplayers do that I wouldn't recommend is if you make a photo really dark but want to keep your eyes really bright, and this is where you take tools like the dodge and burn tool. So dodge is if you want to make something really bright. What's up, Logan?
What about doing the opposite for beauty marks? Because say for instance you have a character that has, I can't really think of any examples for like anime, but like
Which one? Lots of freckles.
potentially they have like lots of freckles for like, you know.
Do that with your makeup. It's not worth going in and putting it in digitally.
Freckles.
Because you're gonna spend. Some people like to do this. They take the, it's the dodge tool. It makes things brighter, and they like to make their eyes brighter. The more layers you add into this, the brighter it's gonna get. But let me let you know how creepy it gets when you do it too much. So you're like, I want to make my eyes just really pop in this photo. Just really.
Oh god.
God.
Now look when you zoom out. No, don't do that!
It looks good on the small scale.
It just looks kind of creepy.
It just brings way too much attention to your eyes, and people start to get sucked into it, and you just don't want them to get lost. So, avoid that.
Jace, we're getting
in your
lost
eye.
in your eyes.
Oh god, me too.
jeez.
Code blue.
The last thing that I want to, this is one we did at one of our photo shops. But look, oh my god, there's this really fucking ugly,
Firearms, weapons prohibited.
there's this really unfortunate sign that says firearms, weapons prohibited in this thing. And you're just like, well, that's not supposed to be there. Like, I don't want that right behind me in my photo. This is where we take our foam stamp. You can make it as big or small as you want, but the basis is you take it, you're going to hit Alt, and you're going to take a sample. It's like fixing bird skin. So you click, take your sample, you go down to where you want to start fixing it, and you're just going to make it go away. And you just do this over and over again. You want to line up the cracks. Sometimes it's painstaking, but it's worth it in the end to get rid of this ugly sign. But little by little, you'll be able to get the sign out of the way. And that goes for anything on your costume too. Like say I'm like, this is puffing out way too much on my wig right here. I do not like it at all. So I'm just going to Alt key it. Actually, let's get a harder brush. And maybe make this a little bit smaller. If you have a tablet, it's way easier to do it because it's easier just to like paint it. But we can start going in and shaving off the sides.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's going to look a little bit better with the tablet. And that way you can fix up any wig problems that you're having, especially flyaways or something that gets in your face. But yes, as far as making your eyes a different color, because that's something a lot of cosplayers will do with their photos. A good way to do this, and I just do a really simple, easy way, is I take the layer, I make a new layer, and I'm going to zoom in creepily on my eyes, like real close.
There you can see the pixels.
Yeah, you can actually see the pixels in this, which is kind of neat. Thanks, Photoshop. Say I want to make green. Okay. You're going to want to set your opacity to like 30. You can play around with it though. Take a paintbrush, downsize to where you're going to have to go down to like a 1 pixel. And you can just start layering it over your natural eye color. If you just do it without the opacity, it's going to just look like you scribbled on green onto your eyeballs. But this goes over the natural shadows and the highlights in your eyes, so you don't have to worry about putting them there yourself. And then when you're done, and when I zoom out, hopefully it looks.
Well,
So now I have green and a blue eye. Yep, and that's your basics. Is there anything else you guys want to know? What up, Logan?
There's a little trick that I knew. I don't.
Replacing the color?
For replacing the color, there actually is
Yeah.
a color replacement tool.
There is. I find that sometimes it works and sometimes it goes horribly wrong. Hopefully it comes up. There we go. We have a color sampler tool, 3D material eyedropper. There we go. So at least this tells me what everything is. It gets very weird and complicated. But I haven't played around with the color replacer in this program. I don't do too much eye changing. So feel free to look up a tutorial on that though, because that's a really neat way to go ahead and change your eye color. What happened? That's what I mean when going terribly wrong. There we go.
Does that work for brown eyes too, like the green changing? I mean, your eyes like bright blue.
That's true. Not so much. That's when you would probably want to use the color replacement. Because it'll select that your eye color, and then you'll go up to a screen and you'll just drag around a thing to the correct eye color you want to, and you'll just see it change right before your eyes. Literally.
No pun intended. I have a question.
Yes, Naito.
What happens if you mess up and edit but you don't want to redo the whole thing?
What happens if you mess up but you don't want to redo the whole thing?
Yeah.
Just one part?
Like if you, like let's say you replace your eye color and you're like, no, I don't want to do that. But you don't really.
Photoshop used to do this thing where you'd hit Control Z and it would just go back one move, but now if you hit Control Alt and Z, you can just remove it.
Oh, okay, that's good.
You can start undoing all of your changes, which is really nice because if I don't like anything and I want to go back to a certain point, I just start.
That's all. Because I know Photoshop has this thing where if you press Control Z once, it goes back one step, but then if you press it again, it
Redoes it.
Yeah.
So it's Control
Yeah, that's
Alt
a
and
good
Z. Control Alt Z will go back as far in your history as you have it.
That's very useful. I wish I
Yes.
knew that a lot earlier.
Here, undo, select, deselect, and step backward. It's called Control Alt Control Z. Yep. And then I don't know if you guys keep these. You should though, because they're useful. Cosplay pages.
Oh yeah, I have one. I
Um,
have two actually. I had to restart one because I couldn't change the name of it. So if anyone knows how to contact actual customer service people at Facebook, let me know.
Don't look at
Because it would help with my page.
they're big.
I had to start over.
Cosplay pages are a really good way to organize your photos that you have and to put them up there on albums for other people to see. They're also a good way to keep track of what you want to do. So just putting things up to like possible cosplays photo. And also if you put up what you're working on, you can then pull up the album if you're going to a competition and show the judges step by step. Like, this is what I did, this is how I made it, and the judges will be really impressed and be like, oh, now I get to see part of your cosplay I wouldn't have been able to see. Because if you layer up in a cosplay especially, you can't really show the judges everything without taking your whole entire cosplay off, and sometimes it's just not convenient. So, yeah. Any other questions? What's up?
I've noticed that like a lot of the more like well-known like professional quote unquote cosplayers, like their photos look like magazine perfect, like their skin's flawless and everything. Do you know how to do that kind of airbrushing in Photoshop or?
You can, but usually you have to pay professionals to do that kind of stuff. Yeah. Or
There's like
people.
tutorials out there for how to do it though. Right?
If you spend enough time on tutorials and stuff, you sure can do it yourself, but it just takes a lot of practice.
Yeah.
Which, what's up, Night 2?
Do you have a link to the CS6 download?
Yes, that would definitely be something.
I actually have it on my computer as a WinRip, so I can put it into the cosplay group page.
Nice.
Yes, please. I've been waiting to get the
Please.
update.
Yep.
This is another example of a cosplay page.
Is that Riley?
It is. She has more likes than me. I'm just-
Oh.
No,
Aww.
I'm
Whoa,
kidding.
isn't that nice?
She has more likes than me.
That's alright. She's a pretty girl. Yeah, so don't be afraid to put stuff up on cosplay pages. Where's the spot? I don't remember. I had a spot on here that shows where like photos we could take in my house, but that's fine. Any other questions about Photoshop? I know it was really quick, but hopefully you learned something. Don't be afraid also, if you can't afford Photoshop and you don't want to download it, don't be afraid to play around with the photo editor that's on your computer. 'Cause sometimes those can work too. It's just being able to go into the advanced settings and mess around with those. Yes?
Not really a question, but a tip. Like you showed earlier, it's always important to keep zooming out when you're doing things so that you can see the big picture instead of being all like,
Yes,
oh, this is
because
great,
you'll work on
amazing.
an area for like 5 minutes and be like, oh, this looks awesome. I made my eyes really bright. And then you'll zoom out and be like, oh no. And like close up it looks good, but relative to the rest of the picture, you're just
Yeah.
like, ooh.
Also, burn and dodge tools are bad in general.
What?
Yeah.
Avoid.
Don't
Unless
use
you
them unless
use them
you really
in
have
the
to.
least amount
No.
possible.
The burn tool does this. It darkens things. But if you click it too much,
It just keeps layering.
There is also a point though that if you click and hold it and move it along, it will only do one layer at a time. Like if you go back over what you've already done, it won't do more. So
Yeah, but you have to hold it there.
Yeah.
you have to hold it the entire time. So
It's just
that's where-
really tricky to use, and the results aren't worth it.
Yeah. I would do more airbrushing if possible, but it's just more worth it to, at this point to just go in and change the brightness settings.
Yeah.
So unless you want this kind of effect, then go for it. You want this photo is dunked in water and then pulled out effect.
Oh, I have one more thing.
What's up?
Sometimes, I don't know if people would be interested in this, but like, sometimes if you want to emulate like the anime fake screen cap kind of effect, if face to turn down your, I'm not sure what it was. I think your saturation you turn down.
Yeah, saturation, like I said, like if you really boost it up, it's gonna make you look like an orange. Depending on the lighting in your picture.
These colors in enemy, like enemies become.
That's the saturation's turned all the way up. This isn't turned all the way down.
Black.
So saturation is just how much color, how much like you're putting into your color.
Go back up. I want to see that again.
Let's watch. This is if the world was ending and you're slowly burning. Too hot! Too hot!
Your shirt is a Hawaiian shirt.
Hot day.
Got a full decent up biome.
Too hot. Hot day.
Your shirt just makes it bigger.
Mom's approaching.
Technicolor disco, John.
You're slowly burning.
What happened to that poor shirt? It doesn't even make sense.
It
I
just
don't know
glitches out.
Because it picked up the shadows in the colors there and decided that's what I'm gonna make it.
Wow.
It's so spontaneous. That's good.
You can see it start to form there, and then it's just like too far. You can go to like typical ones that it has.
Oh, yeah,
Like
it's like-
sepia. Oh wow. Increase saturation. Alright, that's not too bad. Old style. Alright. Red boost. Not bad. Yellow boost. Alright. Strong saturation. We're getting a little too fake tan there. So saturation is a great tool, but
Use very.
don't turn it up all the way.
Dump tomato.
Do you know how to change like eye shape, or like what if in my photo I feel like I look kind of fat and I want to like make myself look slimmer? Is that like
There's a-
super complicated stuff to change?
There's a transform tool, isn't it? I think.
There's a transform tool that's more for 2D images.
It starts to get weird.
You can liquefy is just dumb, so I wouldn't use that. The best thing you could do is to take your clone stamp, make it kind of big, and it's best to do with a white background if you really want to get
Oh yeah.
technical. You're gonna have to clone stamp the rest of your stuff. But say like my shoulders are too big, I don't like it. We take my shoulders and we put them. Well, you'd have to line them up better, but
Totally natural.
Natural hits.
put them over here. My face is. This is gonna get strange, but the more refined and smaller you get too. Like say, this is gonna get creepy. But I want to put my chin higher up.
What's happening?
I mean, the finer tune that you do it.
Perfect.
I call it
Art.
rage.
I call it art.
And it's art. Okay, anyway. We've done enough damage to this.
Can you save that and put that on the Facebook page?
What?
Just to
Not
avoid
Send the saturation of how not to edit your photos with cosplay club.
Don't do this. What we learned in Photoshop.
What I learned in boarding school is. Oh God.
You look like you're being possessed. It's beautiful.
I like the just layers of hair.
It's like a devil with his motor.
It's like a bird landing.
A combo breaker. So that's it. That's all I have for you guys.
Hey.
So go forth. Don't die in the storm.
Alright.
Sweet fun to drive home.
Yeah.
Is it really raining that bad outside?
Yeah.